All right, welcome back to another masterpiece of mediocrity. Today is special because I'm officially starting a brand new series. How long can a 200 Elo player survive against different chess bots? Every episode, I'll challenge a new bot, and every episode, you'll get to watch me struggle for dear life. And to kick off the series, I didn't choose something easy. No warm-up, no practice. I went straight for the final boss, Magnus Carlsen Bot. I even played 2 games. One with the white pieces, one with the black pieces, because apparently getting cooked once wasn't enough. Why not get roasted in both colors, right? So sit back, relax, and let's see how fast I get cooked in today's episode. Hope you enjoy the video. If you do, make sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below. So, in the first game, I was playing black. The game started with d4, d5, nice and standard. Then Magnus played c4, and honestly, I have no idea which gambit that is. By the way, I still don't really know which gambit I usually play either. Anyway, I responded with c6 to defend my pawn. Magnus brought out his knight, and I played f6 because I wanted to push my e-pawn into the center, plus give it a little protection. Magnus developed his other knight, and I finally pushed my e-pawn into the center. Then he took my e-pawn, so naturally, I retook. Next, he took my d-pawn, and of course, I retook again. Now he pushed his e-pawn into the center, and I developed my knight. Then he captured my d-pawn, and I took his pawn back with my knight. But when he retook my knight, it hit me. I couldn't capture his knight with my queen. And that, folks, is where my brain started sending error messages. So after that mess, I brought out my other knight. Magnus played bishop to c4, and I responded with bishop to e6. Then he casually castles like everything is normal. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, maybe I should castle too. So I play bishop to c5, preparing to castle like a civilized human being for once. Then Magnus hits me with bishop to g5, attacking my queen. I panic slide my queen to a4, the classic save queen first, think later move. And then Magnus plays knight to b6, and suddenly my rook is under attack. Now here's the funny part. I could take that knight with 3 different pieces, bishop, queen, or pawn. 3 simple options. And guess what I see? Not the free knight, not the simple capture. Nope. I only see rook to d8. Let's threaten the queen. And Magnus, being Magnus, just casually takes my rook with his bishop from g5, like it was a free sample at a supermarket. I, meanwhile, proudly castle, as if that is going to save my soul. Then he takes my e6 bishop with his bishop from c4, with check, of course. At this point, I'm thinking this whole game is absolute nonsense, complete garbage. So I just move my king and pretend everything is fine. Then he plays knight to g5, and suddenly I notice, hey, my queen can take that knight. So I take it with my queen, ignoring the tiny little fact that my bishop and pawn could also take it. And Magnus gives me the slap I deserve. He instantly recaptures my queen with his bishop. Right there, my brain finally wakes up. Now I suddenly see everything. I could have taken with the bishop. I could have taken with the pawn. I didn't have to sacrifice half my soul. But it's too late. So I take his bishop back because, honestly, what else can I even do at this point? Then he plays queen to h5. Now he's literally 1 move away from checkmating me, and I still don't know what I was thinking. But I play knight to e2, the most useless defensive move of the century. Magnus responds with queen to h2, and that's it. Checkmate. Game over. Another masterpiece of self-destruction. And that, my friends, is how a 200 Elo player bravely survived all the way to move 19 against Magnus Carlsen, before getting absolutely cooked. After that emotional damage, I grabbed some water, reset my brain, and jumped into game 2, where I finally played like a discount grandmaster. So in game 2, I finally had the white pieces. The game begins with e4, e5, nice and normal. I develop my knight, Magnus develops his. I bring out my second knight, he copies again. I develop my bishop, and of course he develops his bishop too. Then I castle. Magnus also castles. At this point I'm shocked, like, is this bot actually copying my moves? But that didn't last long. I move my rook to the e file. He immediately drops his knight to d4. His e5 pawn is suddenly unprotected, so I grab it with my knight from f3. Then he pushes a pawn, attacking my knight. I look at his f2 pawn and think, hold on, if I take that pawn, his king can't recapture me, and I'll be threatening his queen at the same time. Genius idea, right? So I take his f2 pawn, and then he casually takes my knight with his rook. Only then do I realize, oh wow, yes, the rook exists. Brilliant calculation by me, as always. So while being disappointed in myself, I think, well, if he can take my knight with his rook, I can take his rook with my bishop. So I do exactly that. Bishop takes rook. And of course, he immediately recaptures my bishop with his king. Because why not let the king go on a little adventure in the opening? I play d3 to give my remaining bishop some breathing space. But Magnus instantly points his bishop at my queen like, nice queen you got there.
Would be a shame if someone attacked it.
I only had one move, queen to d2. He calmly plays queen to d7, acting like he's setting up something evil. He was. I bring my knight to d5, trying to put more pieces in the center and pretend I know strategy. He takes my knight with his knight. I retake with my pawn, maintaining the illusion that I'm still in control. Then he plays rook to e8. Rook takes rook, feeling proud like I've done something smart. Then he takes my rook with his queen, making sure I don't feel smart for long. I suddenly notice I haven't moved my other bishop since the prehistoric era, so I push pawn to b2 to give it some life. But Magnus says nope and drops his knight to e2, forking my bishop and my king. I have two escape squares, king to h1 or king to f1. For some mysterious reason, my brain says, let's go to f2. That looks safe. It was not safe. I accept that my bishop is probably dead, but instead Magnus plays queen to e5, now threatening my rook. So I push pawn to c3 to protect it. And then, he casually takes my h2 pawn with his queen. Suddenly I realize, if his queen goes to h1 next, I'm getting checkmated instantly. So I try giving my king a little breathing room with f3. But Magnus is Magnus. He plays knight to g3 with check. I panic run with my king again. And then he plays the final move. Queen to h1, checkmate. Just like that. Game over. And that's it for today's chaos, ladies and gentlemen. Somehow this 200 Elo brain survived 19 moves against Magnus Carlsen. Twice. One game with white, one with black. And even this second game also lasted exactly 19 moves, just like the first one. If you enjoyed watching me get cooked slowly, make sure to like and subscribe. And drop some tips in the comments on how I can actually improve my chess. Maybe with your help, I can give the next bots at least a little bit of a hard time. See you in the next episode of How Long Can a 200 Elo Last?